once again. Hey, Dean. Getting ready to start the show here, folks. Get ready. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the one and only, the world famous Rich Wilson Show. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the world famous Rich Wilson Show.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the one and only, the world famous Rich Wilson Show. I'm Rich Wilson, and you're not. That's right, folks. All right. So, man, we had a weekend. We're also, while we're on the show, we're on Judicial Watch because as of right now, the Senate is deadlocked on Justice Jackson's confirmation. If we get any updates on that, I'll get back to you. But let's see here. This weekend, we had some bad crap happen, and unfortunately, the left is running nuts with a lot of the bad things that happened, and we'll get into that. So tonight we're going to talk. I'm going to warn you now that some of the images that you're going to see tonight are very, very, very disturbing. And so if you have a problem with seeing disturbing images, just heads up. This one's going to get a notification on YouTube. You're going to get one of those things you got to click that says this could have disturbing footage. Do you want to keep watching it? This one will. Guarantee it. Anyway, we got Dean over in the chat room saying, hanging out there, folks. But yeah, so we're going to get talking about it. A couple little notes that we're not getting on the show tonight. We'll probably talk about maybe tomorrow. Elon Musk bought 9% of Twitter. Now, it doesn't sound like a lot, but when you look at how much Twitter shares cost, to end up buying 9% worth of the company is a lot. And now he is the largest shareholder in the company, which means he has some control over Twitter now. So that's an interesting thing that happened. But over this weekend, some bad things happened. So let's get into that. As you know, our president today made a statement that this time he's not walking back. And when asked about it again, he backed it up again. And so far, the press secretary, the interim press secretary, has also backed up this statement as well. I'll play this for you. Hopefully it doesn't take too terribly long. It's not that long of a little video clip. This comes from the Associated Press.
You may remember I got criticized for calling Putin a war criminal. Well, the truth of the matter, you saw what happened in Bucha. This warrants him, he is a war criminal. But we have to gather the information. We have to continue to provide Ukraine with the weapons they need to continue the fight. And we have to gather all the detail so this can be have a war crime trial. This guy is brutal. And what's happening in Bucha is outrageous. And everyone's seen it. No, I think it is a war crime.
What are you going to do about it, sir? Are you going to do more sanctions on Russia?
I'm seeking more sanctions, yes. I'll have time to announce that to you. He should be held accountable.
Without sanctions?
Well, no.
What else can you do?
No. Go the war crimes chapter. Yes, I'm going to continue to add sanctions. Thank you.
What kind of sanctions, Mr. President?
I'll let you know.
Okay, so there it has it. He's stated he is a war criminal. He's backed it up now. He's supported his statement, and the press secretary has also. Dean says so. Put a bounty on him. Yeah, I think that at this point, I think if the United States the United States itself couldn't put a bounty on him because that goes against what we agreed upon. However, it's not saying that somebody couldn't put a bounty on him. Like, the United States could get in contact with Zelensky. Zelensky could put a bounty on Putin's head, and the United States fund it. I'm pretty sure NATO would be willing at this point, and there's a reason why I say this. I'm pretty sure NATO would back this up as well, to, fund a bounty put on his head at this point. It's bad. It's really bad. If you guys haven't watched the news today, if you haven't watched the news in the last 24 hours, what he's talking about, I'm going to play it for you now. I warn you ahead of time, this is going to be rough to watch. This isn't going to be easy. So if you have a problem with what I'm about to play, I would suggest looking away. But this is bad.
Ми тут бачимо зараз пчела на вулиці. Багато такого в Бучі?
На тій стороні Івана Франка, то люди вже почали самі ховати в дворах там просто. А це перший раз вийшов сюди, пройтися, подивитися, що до чого.
Які зараз емоції у вас?
Та які тут емоції?
The Russians
Жах,
occupied this,
одним словом.
and then they withdrew. This is what they found.
Я зараз на вулиці Яблунській, це нещодавно звільнене місто Буча під Києвом. 2 квітня, коли з'явилася можливість сюди заїхати, я на цьому місці зафіксував майже десяток загиблих мирних мешканців. Їхні тіла лежали зовсім близько, там, на відстані, можливо, 100, трохи більше метрів. І також випала нагода поспілкуватися з мешканцем цієї вулиці, який весь час залишався на місці і фактично був свідком перебування тут російських військових. Він, на жаль, не захотів говорити на камеру, але своєю історією поділився. Так от, за його словами, серед жертв був також його родич. Його вбили зі стрілецької зброї російські військові. На його думку, працював снайпер, стріляв навмисно. І, що також важливо, як говорить цей чоловік, таких вбивств тут було кілька.
З 5 числа десь те саме з'явився снайпер, і він оце прострілював все. 5 числа, вийшли на вулицю, те саме перед комендантською годиною, був застрелений мій зять снайпером під самими тими воротами, коричневими. І потім понеслося це все. Він відстрілював всіх людей, хто з'являвся на вулиці.
Просто хто виходив на вулицю, він стріляв?
Я не знаю як там, це саме. Воно, вистріли йшли, я на вулицю не виходив. Після цього случаю я не виходив.
Вони як 27 числа зайшли сюди, то тут ховались люди в тому під'їзді. Там було 6 чоловік і там 3 чи 4 жінок. От 6 чоловіків, 3 вони вбили.
Як?
В перший день застрелили Женю. Просто так на вулиці, немотивовано зовсім. Просто застрелили його. Ніхто не знає чому навіть. Другого Льоню, це другого, Льоню застрелили. Вранці подивились документи, він каже, я тут живу, моя квартира, йому в спину встрелили, він повернувся. 3-го взагалі напились, сказали зібрати телефони, він зібрав телефони, вони його розстріляли, ще й гранату кинули. Його взагалі по частям хоронили, там руки, ноги окремо, півголови не було. Ну, жах. У мене брата 5 числа вбили, без 5 чи без 15, 5, йшов, чи курив, чи йшов до бомбосховища, до підвалу. Просто вбили, похоронили там далі.
Тобто ви кажете, що це такі були не одиничні випадки?
Це системно. Вони системно вбивали людей, і один хвастався, а я вже сьогодні 2 зняв з вікон, каже. Снайпер хвастався, що я вже сьогодні 2, може там десь людей побачив, і просто вбивав їх через вікна. В цій 9-поверхівці. Це не випадковість, це не якась там військова необхідність, це просто катування мирних жителів. І в нас просто вбивали, а там далі і катували, і руки, люди з вбитими, зв'язаними руками ззаді застрелені були. Тобто, і це просто вбивство.
Бачив вже 3 людини з простреленими головами. Кульові видно, що кульовий отвір в черепі.
Що це за люди?
Я їх не знаю, там була бабушка якась, не знаю, видно, що похилого віку. Потім там в городі лежав, у сусідів там недалеко. Я його не дивився так, не підходив близько, бачив, що є. І одного я бачив там в квартирі, в 9-поверхівці, то вже бачив я, що прям в лобі дирка. Скільки, тиждень тому чи менше, плюс-мінус. То було тихо, вони ходили, як все нормально, а потім вже останніх там днів 4-5 почались, чутно було по вулиці, стрілецька зброя. Пим, там пух, там черга, там одиночні. Дуже багато, з всіх сторін стріляли. Тому ось вам результат, на вулицях людей куча.
Okay. So now you know why. Okay, the president of Ukraine was on the streets of Bucha today. The Russians withdrew, and in the couple days before they withdrew, the soldiers started shooting civilians wholesale. And when I say wholesale, I literally mean wholesale. As they're going through that city of Bucha, they have found mass graves where the bodies of these people were taken and buried, unmarked, unnamed, just thrown in a ditch, and dirt thrown over them. I'm tired of people saying that it's a conspiracy and all of this. This is war. And this is what happens when you have a government that doesn't care and adopted the policy that if they can't have Ukraine, then nobody will. And this is what they're doing. And the problem is Russian soldier defections are actually on the rise. But the problem is some of these soldiers, these hit squads that the Russians have, are going out and trying to track these soldiers down, and then when they find them, they kill them and everybody that's with them. So Russian soldiers that are trying to defect because they don't want to be a part of this are being hunted down and killed, and the Ukrainians that are taking them in to hide from the Russians are being killed for it. Okay, there are rules. There are rules that says if soldiers choose to defect to a foreign country, it's to the enemy. It's not the job of the military that lost that soldier to go into that country and kill the soldier and everyone else. You saw in the case of, and unfortunately, I hate this, but like Bergdahl, where they made the agreement to trade off Taliban officials to get him back. We didn't just go in there and kill Bergdahl and all the other people that were with him. We made an agreement to trade off, and he was convicted for desertion and so forth. Now, unfortunately, I don't think he served any time. I think the Obama administration basically let him go with a dishonorable discharge. He should have been sentenced to life according to the UCMJ for desertion, in fact, which is punishable by death. But it is what it is. There's rules that we're supposed to follow, that all sides are supposed to follow. The Russians even signed the Geneva Convention on this. So even they're supposed to follow this, but that's not what they're doing. They're killing innocent civilians wholesale. Dean says Putin needs to be held accountable. He does, because he is aware that he is aware that this is going on, because every one of those things, every one of the orders that the generals put out there, he has to know about it. And he's aware of it. In fact, one of the generals that's out in that battle is probably one of the worst and most ruthless generals in history, who is known for killing innocent civilians and training his men to do unspeakable atrocities to civilians. I had his photograph somewhere and I couldn't find it. But he reports directly back to Putin on everything he does. He literally does. So when Putin tries to say that this is propaganda, it's not. Because these generals report directly back to Putin. Nikani says, I bet Putin thinks he can do whatever he wants because his signature isn't on the Geneva Convention. Well, and Putin has said back when he first took office back during the Clinton administration that eventually he was going to rebuild the original Soviet Union. And then when he got back into office again, he said he was going to do it again. And now he's showing it. He has said from the get-go this time around he was going to take Ukraine back, and he has invaded Ukraine on more than one occasion. This time this is the worst he's ever managed. Before it was just, taking street by street, city to city during Ukraine's civil war. This time around, Putin is doing a lot of things. And the problem is one of the theories that's out there running around, and this can't be substantiated yet because there's no hard evidence that shows it, but one of the evidence running around is that Putin is withdrawing troops from areas because he can't take Kiev, which is the capital city. And if Kiev falls, the country falls. With the ideology that he may be getting ready to start dropping chemical weapons under that same philosophy. If he can't have it, nobody can. We don't know that that's the case, but at this point, as you can see, he honestly doesn't care about killing innocent civilians. People trying to flee the country are getting shot and killed. Buses that have been sent in there to go get refugees to get them out have been shot at to the point they've had to turn around and come back. There has been some of the bus drivers of those relief convoys that have been killed. People have been shot trying to get onto the buses to get out of there. And these are people just trying to flee the country. These are not people that are combatants that are trying to get, say, into Russia to start shooting Russians. These are people trying to flee to Poland, and from Poland, it's where whichever countries are taking X amount of refugees, they're sent off to, and they're shooting them as they're going. We saw the clips of the press, the members of the press that were being shot and killed by Russian soldiers, clearly identified as press, because Putin wants anybody who's not showing anything favorable to him shut up. Well, some of these generals are taking that directive of that means kill them, and they've been doing it. And Putin is directly responsible for the actions of these generals, because at any point Putin can pick up the phone and go, stop doing what you're doing, and it will stop. These generals know that the only way they can ever return home is if they have to follow every single order. Now, here's the thing. There has been thousands of Russian soldiers who have been killed that the Russian military is leaving behind because they can't bring them back. If they lose this war, it is a disgrace. Nikani says, I hope we do something before the death toll reaches 6 million. I hope so. But the problem is, in some of these Russian-controlled areas, we're not sure what the death toll actually is while the Russians are still there. But every time the Russians withdraw, we keep finding a mass amount of people that have been killed by them. Okay? It's unfortunate. Okay? It is unfortunate. Yes, you're making that parallel. I get you. I understand what you're saying on that. Everywhere the Russians have withdrawn, we have found all kinds of atrocities left behind. And people are like, oh, well, this could be just a whole bunch of garbage, nonsense, and this could be all fake. Really, because the commonality is everywhere the Russians have been occupying and withdrawn, they have found this. So this isn't Ukraine killing its own people to put out propaganda. The commonality in that is every single time that every time the Russians have withdrawn from an area that they controlled, the Ukrainians have come back in to take possession and then found these things. And the press is right there with the Ukrainians as they're going back into the areas the Russians have withdrawn from. So the press could tell you that they started shooting people. Nikani says at least the Nazis didn't invade Britain. They just bombed the hell out of it. Well, the plan was to invade Britain, but unfortunately they couldn't pull it off. Didn't the Nazis do this as they retreated out of Russia? Yes, they committed war crimes, even more so coming out of Russia, and killed innocent civilians as they were withdrawing from their areas that they had invaded. So this is nothing new. It's just, I swear Putin's trying to make himself more infamous than any other leader that ever existed at this point. It seems to be what he's going for, that he's going to remain famous. His approval ratings in his country for people that are brave enough to actually vote on his approval ratings have just plummeted. And this is a guy that country revered and loved. Like, this guy was like next to God. And now his approval ratings have sunk to just disastrous lows. And the worst part about it is the man will only watch Russian-controlled state TV. So he doesn't believe, he doesn't believe anything that anybody else. The world is reporting this, and the only people he will listen to is Russian-controlled state media. And then, of course, the one girl that was on TV that decided to hold up the, Russians don't support the war sign on live TV on Russian state television, ended up getting arrested and charged for treason. She ended up only getting, I think they said that she only got like maybe 6 months and was released actually literally not long after it just went completely psycho. Nikani says, I wonder if Putin is directly attacking to get the U.S. to do something. I wouldn't doubt that they're intentionally doing this to try and provoke a NATO response, because then if NATO actually then deploys units into Ukraine and starts shooting Russians, then Putin's going to sit there and say, see, look, I told you. They were after, it was all a ploy to come after me after all. It's another reason why we can't just march in there. Because the problem is it will get spun to look like he was right all along. The bad part is the more of these atrocities that are getting put out there, the more of this stuff that's getting made public, the less likely anything he's trying to do is going to work. Super Dave says, I'm going to make a reference. Putin is going to get a heart monitor attached that if it flatlines, all of his nukes are launched with the crazies he has done already. I could see this. So you're talking about what they call a dead man switch. for those of you who don't know, a dead man switch is usually when somebody attaches some kind of a device to themselves when their heart stops, or they have to hold a button, and if they pass the button spring loaded, which means once you're gone, your muscles are no longer active and your thumb would come off from the pressure and the device would go off. That's a dead man switch. So that's what Super Dave is referring to as basically a dead man switch on the nukes. No, I don't think that's going to be the case. I think if he decides he wants to do it, he's going to do it. We've already seen he doesn't care about innocent civilians. He really doesn't. Connie says I was not trying to think about that, Dave. Unfortunately, I don't disagree. But like I said, he's not, at this point, he's shown he has no care for innocent civilians or, the rules of war. Now, as I've said before to people, in war, is there supposed to really be any rules? Militaries are designed to break crap and conquer and occupy, not win the hearts and minds. Everybody's got this weird thought that militaries are supposed to be for winning hearts and minds when they're really not. But in this situation, like I said, I would not, at this point, I would be shocked to see it, but I would not be shocked if I found out that he started dumping chemical weapons at this point. I really wouldn't. We all know, though, the withdrawal out of Bach just means that he's just gonna reorganize his troops to make another attack. James is over here on Facebook. Oh, geez, Putin is smart and Biden is using his head too. What has the world come to? What the hell? Nikani says, just remember on a clear day, you can see the Russia coast from parts of Alaska, which you actually can. James, at this point, Biden actually said something today. He said, you guys made comments about me saying Putin was a war criminal, and it's kind of like on this one, the White House tried walking all this stuff back, and the left-wing media tried walking it all back, and Biden came out today and said, y'all called me crazy for saying he's a war criminal. Look at what happened in Baca this weekend. And you know what? He was right. Although he tried to walk it back too. But the bad part about it is like I said, and FYI, Nikani is kind of monitoring our live feeds to see where everything's going. And he said if you're watching this, Twitch has the least amount of lag of any of the streaming services. Just a heads up. But yeah, so it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy that we very well could see the next move like Saddam Hussein, where remember he gassed the Turks. Then you're talking about the Syrian president who committed the atrocities he did. Of course, Adolf Hitler, Stalin, Mao Zedong, and now we could be putting Putin. We're going to be putting Putin in that Vladimir Putin in that same list. I had hoped that Stalin, that Saddam Hussein and Assad was going to be the last ones that we were going to ever see get to this level. I was really hoping I could live the rest of my life not seeing that level of just absolute carelessness for humans, period, ever again. But like I said, Putin's looking like he's going to do the same thing. And he's going to get on that list as the top, one of the top leaders in history to give the orders to commit genocide at this point. And that's what it is. It's genocide. It's absolute genocide. And people can say what they, like I said again, people can say what they want about, propaganda, who's what, who, where, when, how. The video I showed you, that's not propaganda. Okay, that's not propaganda. That is literally as reporters were able to re-enter Bakhmut even before the Ukrainian military was able to enter back in. The press basically followed the withdrawal of the Russian troops and were there first before the Ukrainian military had come back in to recontrol it. So they were actually ahead of it. So if people want to say that this is the Ukrainian government or military trying to spin propaganda, the press beat them there. Okay, the press was already sitting outside the town, and once the Russians withdrew, the press came into town, and that's what they came across. This was shown on World TV this weekend, and the Ukrainian military didn't get there until later Sunday evening or afternoon, and the president of Ukraine showed up after they told him what had happened to see it for himself. This is just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. So if anybody at this point thinks this is some weird Ukrainian propaganda, I don't know what rock hit you over the head, but you need to stop reading the Conspiracy Times and open your damn eyes. But that's that. I don't want to dwell. I don't want to sit here and be stuck in this darkness for the entire show. Dean agreed with me on we thought we wouldn't see these types of atrocities anymore in our lifetimes. Nikati says maybe they are annoyed because Putin is stealing the SOJ press. What do you got for SOJ? I think you're trying to say SJW press. I don't know what you're trying to say there. What is SOJ? So it is what it is. I just let's see. Let's go ahead and cover this now. Let's move on to this story, shall we? Give me a okay. Oh, SJW. I no, because the problem is the belief that this is, a conspiracy and it's propaganda on all sides of this is not just a left thing. I'm seeing there's a lot of people in conservative circles that are saying this, as well as people in the liberal circles. And I don't understand how anybody, I don't understand how anybody could say that, because the press have actually been live while the Russian soldiers have been shooting them. Okay. They're clearly identifying who it is that's shooting at them when they're clearly identifying who they are. And then people saying, oh, it's all fake. And it's like, no? I mean, not when you got the press literally identifying who it is and being shot by them as they're identified as who they are. I mean, that was proof enough at that point. The press doesn't intentionally get itself shot and killed for something. Oh my God. I've got a couple different news agencies sitting over on my other screen over here, and there's a picture of Madonna on TikTok, and that woman looks dead. Like, she looks like somebody did a bad, like a coroner did a bad job, or a funeral director did a bad job painting her up. Before, like, they put her out for an open casket. It was absolutely horrible. Oof. I'm going to have to find that video and show you tomorrow. You want nightmares. That stuff of nightmares. So let's get into our the governor of Florida. Now, I'm going to say that AP kind of ticked me off. The Associated Press kind of ticked me off the way they covered this. But here we go. Look at how they started this video.
It's great to be at Classical Preparatory School, so I want to thank them for hosting us. You Penn Breach kid. And then one for the House sponsor and one for the Senate sponsor. All right, here we go. Today is the 28th. Show it off official. We will continue to recognize that in the state of Florida, parents have a fundamental role in the education, healthcare, and well-being of their children. We will not move from that. I don't care what corporate media outlets say. I don't care what Hollywood says. I don't care what big corporations say. Here I stand. I'm not backing down. And so in Florida, we will make sure that parents can send their kids to school to get an education, not an indoctrination.
Okay, so over the weekend, or on Friday, I believe it was, DeSantis signed the bill. Now, the problem with this bill so not the problem. The problem with the reporting on this bill, and you saw how the Associated Press started that. Okay. Now, unfortunately, I used the Associated Press video because it was the cleanest video without a whole bunch of side note garbage. Did you read the article I sent you, Rich, what Washington State Governor did? When did you send that to me, Dean? I think I did, but I don't remember when you sent that to me. I gotta look at it. I believe I looked at it. Yeah, he sent that to me. Oh yeah, the one about the schools adopt race-based discipline white students to get harsher punishments. Yeah, I'm already aware of that. I hadn't put together a thing about that yet. I was working on that, and I'm thinking about tomorrow or maybe Wednesday I'm going to be covering that. So the state of Washington decided that the penalties... Oh, you sent it to me on Friday. Okay. So it kind of got a little... I do apologize for that, Dean. It kind of got a little bit lost in the sauce with me going to the event. I did read some of it, and in some of it I was already aware of because I caught a news update that had happened. You have states that are... You have some of these states that are starting to adopt policies that... now the punishments are based on race. Which, like in the state of Washington now, the punishments based on race, let's just say, if you're a race other than white, your punishment is going to intentionally be more lenient. Here's an idea. To hell with whoever they are. If they break the rules, punish them. If you have the punishment written in the policy, and that's what you have to do, then boom, it doesn't matter. But anyway, the problem I have with the bill, the bill coverage, the media coverage of the bill in Florida is everybody kept promoting it as it's the Don't Say Gay bill. Okay, I've had to read that bill because of all the people making comments. I've read that bill. I've read every part of it at least 30 times. Nowhere in that bill does it say you can't say gay. Nowhere in that bill does it say that somebody cannot talk about gay. In fact, one of the teachers made a big complaint saying, well, this means that on Monday coming into my class, my kindergartners, if I can't tell them that me and my husband had a great weekend kayaking. Horse shit. It doesn't say that anywhere. It doesn't say that anywhere. What it states is you cannot teach, educate kindergartners through third grade what human sexuality is, what homosexuality, and lesbianism, anything like that. You can't even talk about you can't even teach them heterosexuality. So if you're sitting there and saying, well, it discriminates against gay people, you're not allowed to teach heterosexuality to kindergartners through third graders. So how's it only discriminating against people of the LGBTQIA plus community? Because it also prohibits you from teaching heterosexuality to children. You can't teach gender identification to children kindergartner through third grade. So you can't teach them about being straight, and you can't teach them about being gay. You can't teach them about being trans. So it's not discriminating against everybody, only the LGBTQIA plus community. It's across the board. So when they say it discriminates against one particular group of people, that's not true. It actually is across the board. So, and then, of course, the AP started off their article with DeSantis signed the Don't Say Gay bill. Well, then there's part of your problem right there is the press coverage on it starting it off. Then they go later when you looked at the captions they put in there, saying that this was a bill that prohibited sexual education to kindergartners through third graders. Okay, well, they started off with it's the Don't Say Gay bill, which gets everybody mad, and then nobody pays attention to the captions after that. They clarified it later in the captions, and then they said it's been widely regarded by opposition as the Don't Say Gay bill. But the problem is they put all that in the fine print. The big print was the one at the front. There's nowhere Eric over in Facebook says people don't look at the whole picture. That's right, they don't. I've read this bill over and over and over again. I've told you before, 90% of this bill makes clarifications of rules and regulations for education that already existed because previous rules and regulations were not clear enough, were not clean cut, and schools were actually confused. And it just states, it puts a limitation saying that up to third grade, you cannot teach sexuality to these students. Okay? It doesn't. It doesn't say that as a teacher, if your kids say, well, what did you do this weekend? Well, me and my husband went off kayaking. It doesn't mean you can't say that. It doesn't say that you can't say that Mrs. Fields can't say that her and her wife went to Disney World. And we're going to get into Disney World in a minute, okay? It doesn't say you can't talk about what you do. It's just the moment that the students go, well, what does that mean? Then you say, well, it is not my position to teach you about that. It is not appropriate for you to be taught that kind of information, what that is now. All you got to do is say that. You can talk about your personal life. Now, I don't understand why a teacher thinks it's so bad that they can't talk about their personal life with their spouse to their kindergartners. I mean, quite frankly, I don't think that's necessarily appropriate. I mean, if you want to talk about how you went kayaking with your husband that weekend, that's not that big of a deal. But if somebody, but that should be where the conversation about your personal life comes to an end. I mean, quite frankly, as a teacher, unless you're trying to directly relate to a situation a student, or directly relate to a story that a student is telling, you shouldn't be having a lot of personal conversations to begin with. You really shouldn't. So at that point, that should come to a stop anyway. Now, after third grade, the Florida school districts can have a curriculum to teach sexuality. Okay? So when you say that, oh, this bill discriminates, it actually doesn't discriminate, folks. It does not discriminate. Go read it yourself. It's not that difficult of a read. It's actually pretty quick. It only took me about an hour and a half to read it, maybe 2 hours, over a cup of coffee and a smoke. But it doesn't discriminate. It actually is even across the board. You can't educate people on what heterosexuality is, and you can't teach them about any of the other sexualities. You can't teach them about being straight, just like you can't teach them about the rest of it. So it's even across the board, folks. So this whole deal it's a bunch of bullshit. They're lying to you. If you believe that that's what this bill is, and you honestly believe that, well, I got some oceanfront property in Arizona, I'll sell you. And it was backed by the Biden administration. So that means it's legitimate. You know, Jen Psaki's signature is on it. That means it's true. It's true. Okay? I'm dead serious. That's how dumb this is, because the people that are believing this is because they're only believing the certain talking points that don't even really cover anything that's in the bill. Nikani says that's because people in general get up in arms when they can't do what they want, even if one points out what they want to do will cause harm to others. Well, yeah. I mean, it's obvious. At this point, it's people that only believe what they're told to believe. It's like the fake hate that I tell you guys about. These are people that hate stuff only because they're told to hate it. That if they actually did research on their own, they would find out that what they were told to believe in is a load of bullshit. And they could go on their living their lives normally. I have friends in every one of the communities, every aspect of life, that will tell you this is bullshit. Now, of course, they get told by people that they're sellouts and all this other garbage, because why? They can't because the people pushing this narrative can't back it up with real facts. Okay, because there isn't real facts to back it up. It's just what they've twisted it into what they want you to believe in. Okay, that's all it is. And that's insanity, because there's people literally living their lives being spoon-fed what they told. That's why I have the merchandise that I have, the shirts that says "Stop Fake Hate." Make people, if you wear it and people ask questions, you can simply look at them and go, stop believing in what you're told to hate. Open your eyes. You are being instructed to do something. They run your life. They control you. Oh, I'm not being controlled. Really? 10 years ago, you didn't hate this. Then you were told to hate this. Now you hate this. Why? Because 10 years ago, this wasn't a problem. Now, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it's a problem because you're being told it is. The Florida bill doesn't discriminate against anybody. I dare anybody to read the bill and tell me where it discriminates, where it's only pointed at one group of people. And where the rest of where a group of people is completely targeted, and the other is left out. Okay, I dare people, because it doesn't exist. When you read the bill, you'll find out it doesn't exist. Dean says, I got Nikani saying it's sheep eating the blue pills, and then Dean saying I take the red pill every time. All right, let's, you guys, I'm going to try to make this quick because I'm running out of time. So I don't know if you guys saw over the weekend, we had a bunch of different shootings going on. Come to find out, it seems like there's a commonality involved here. Because, of course, because of this weekend with the shootings, Dallas, Sacramento, I think there was something that happened over in on the East Coast somewhere, and of course, you got the left running around. We need gun control. We need gun control. And there's an update in the Sacramento shooting. By the way, for those you weren't tracking, they had a mass shooting event in Sacramento where 12 people were shot and wounded. 6 people died. I'm not counting the 6 as the 12. So, and we're not sure that 18 is the actual total number. Could be higher, but the police have confirmed 2 shooters. And anyway, I'll let you, I've got the video. I believe this came from Fox Live is where I got this from.
This just in here, we did want to let our viewers know that we have had it confirmed. Breaking news here today. The suspect in the Sacramento mass shooting is in custody. Police say they have arrested 26-year-old DeAndre Martin. He's booked on charges of assault with a firearm and brings a prohibited person in possession of a firearm. Murder charges should soon follow. Now, this mass shooting in Sacramento on Sunday had killed 3 men and 3 women, while also injuring 12 others. Now, the 6 victims killed by the gunfire have been identified by the Sacramento County coroner. Let's go ahead and read out those names of those who lost their lives because of this shooting. You can see their names on your screen here, too. We do have a 21-year-old, Jontea Alexander, 38-year-old Sergio Harris, 29-year-old Devisa Turner, 21-year-old Yamil Martinez Andrade, and 57-year-old Melinda Davis, 32-year-old Joshua Hoyle Lucasi. So all of those victims there named, and unfortunately so many families and friends also mourning the lives of those people. Now, it is unclear if there are other shooters outstanding. Police say this is an ongoing investigation, especially since they had recovered so many gun casings, bullet casings out at that scene. Back to that scene video, too, you can see that there was multiple blocks that had been blocked off from the public. Now, police previously had said they believe that at least 2 shooters opened fire in downtown Sacramento. The shooting did start after there was a fight near an upscale hotel. Police have not said if the incidents are connected. They're also asking witnesses to provide videos or other information.
Yes, they did.
Police going on to say investigators are working to identify those responsible for this horrific act. This is all according to the Sacramento police chief. She went on to say, we know a large fight took place just prior to this shooting, and we have confirmed there were multiple shooters. So authorities say it stands that there are some victims that are still receiving medical attention at a local hospital. And of course, you can count on us right here on Live Now from Fox to continue to follow the latest developments in this story. 1 arrest has been made. If we do see a police press conference later this afternoon, of course, that will be something we'll bring to you right here on Live Now from Fox.
There hasn't been a live, our police press briefing since that report came out. So here's the thing you got going on. You got the left that's sitting there talking about gun control again. I wanted to put the meme up everywhere going, brace yourselves. The Democrats are going to talk about gun control again. But did you notice in that statement the charges? Murder, attempted murder is going to be there. And possession of a firearm by a prohibited person. Now, I know that sounds weird, but all that means is a person that illegally possessed a firearm. So once again, this isn't a lawful person possessing a firearm. This isn't a person, that legally obtained a firearm and was legally using a firearm. This is a person who illegally obtained a firearm and shot and killed a bunch of people. And you also have, the prospect of another shooter. A fight broke out. Shots rang out. 6 people are dead. 12 people wounded. Had the same thing. We had a fight break out after a concert in Dallas with multiple injuries and a fatality. We have there was another one, I think, over on the East Coast where that happened. A fight broke out and shots fired. In the Dallas situation, again, illegally obtained firearm. Okay, firearm restrictions are not going to solve this problem. Obviously, they didn't solve severe gun restrictions didn't solve the problem in California because they have very strict gun laws. And it still didn't stop them. All the gun laws do is prevent law-abiding citizens from being able to possess firearms. I've been saying that for years. You say, oh, that's an NRA talking point. No, it's because I'm a lawful gun owner. Okay? I own guns legally. I use them responsibly. Okay? But if I lived in an area that said I couldn't possess my firearms, if I had to move to that area, God help me if I ever have to, then I would surrender those firearms if I owned firearms that were banned in that area where I was not permitted to own them. Why? Because I'm a legal responsible gun owner. And I abide by the laws and regulations. Okay? I do that. I don't know if you know that I answered that question to Connie, but the answer to your question was yes. Okay. Now, do I ever intend on moving out of the state I live in now? Oh, hell no. I don't. I don't want to move out of this state. I've come back to Texas so many times. But the thing is if say tomorrow the state of Texas banned. I know I gotta cut this soon too, Dean, but thanks for coming out. But the thing is if tomorrow, say, Texas banned the Mossberg 500, okay, because that's one of the multiples that I own, then guess what I would do? I would take my Mossberg 500, regrettably, and I would surrender it. Okay? Because that's what a law-abiding citizen, a person who is a responsible gun owner, does, if that happens. These people are getting a hold of weapons illegally. He is a person in possession of a prohibited person in possession of a firearm means he's not allowed to own firearms. Obviously, because he's had a felony or he's had some kind of decision made by a judge that prohibits him from owning a firearm in the state of California. That's not a law-abiding citizen. That is not a legal and responsible gun owner. That's a criminal that had a gun. So a law regulating firearms is not going to stop that man from having a firearm. Why? Because he had one anyway, even though it was illegal for him to have it. Do you understand the logic there? It's like, I saw the feed underneath of that because I got it from Fox Live Twitter. We should ban guns. Why? So responsible people have no form of self-defense? It's not going to stop that guy from getting a gun because laws didn't stop him from owning a gun. Okay? The only thing you do when you restrict guns is restrict the people who are responsible, who are lawful citizens. It's the only thing you do. We've seen it time and time again. And more of these shootings that are happening, they're finding out the person legally couldn't own the firearm. And no, folks, they're not getting them from gun shows. Okay? They're getting them from their friends on the street that are getting them from other places. They are taking parts of different weapons, moving them around and reassembling them and selling them. Okay? I've been to a gun show not too long ago. In order for you to purchase a gun there, you still have to pass background check before you can leave with the gun. You can't just walk in, slap cash down on the table, and walk out with a .45 caliber handgun. You still got to pass a background check. You get a tag and you can come back and get it. Or, well, in Texas, you could clear it that day as long as there ain't shit on you. If you walk in, buy the gun, they'll do the run right there on you. You come back later, they tell you if you pass, you pick up your firearm. They put a tag on it. You have to check, and you're only allowed to take that firearm when you're ready to leave. You can't go walking around with a brand new firearm you just bought in a gun show. Okay? So don't sit there, and that's what this garbage is. it's people illegally possessing a firearm. It's not lawful gun owners getting stupid and shooting a bunch of people. In fact, lawful gun owners only make up for maybe 1%, if that. The other 99% are committed by, and the bad part is when you look at the statistics, people who commit suicide are what they also consider that gun violence. So a large majority of that 1% are people who commit suicide. But they don't tell you that's what it is. But if you go look at the statistics and how the statistics are broken down, suicide by gun and accidental discharges, which, accidental discharges is just stupidity, okay, are counted in that. That's a large majority of the 1% of responsibles. 99% is something totally different. Anyway, real quick, I wanted the one more thing I wanted to show you before I get the hell out of here. You want to talk about a strange incident? This happened in Florida, of course, Florida. Folks, check this out. You just saw that, right? This dude comes running up and just straight up clocks that dude. That dude was in the lead. Now, the guy that clocked the runner, that wasn't the first time he showed up on the track. He evidently had showed up earlier and they kicked him out and then popped back up again. But then they just continued to race like nothing happened. They're like, oh, finish it. The kid was robbed. That's on my what the did I just watch? But anyway, folks, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for tonight. I was going to get into what happened in Polk County where they arrested 108 people in a sex bust, but we'll get that on there tomorrow, folks, because we've run out of time. Ladies and gentlemen, for everybody here at the world famous Rich Wilson Show, I hope you enjoyed the show tonight. I hope you had a good time. Dave, thank you very much for everything. Like I said, I hope you guys had yourself a good night. By the way, for those of you, I know people are tuning out now because they said the show's coming to an end. By the way, folks, if you didn't know, update on myself why I had such a great weekend. So the game that I'm a part of, I do the live action role playing sword fighting as a hobby. The game that I'm a part of, the Knights of that game, where I was at, voted, and they passed my vote, and I'm going to be elevated to the Knight of the Flame. Over 20 plus years of being in the LARPing community, everywhere that I go, I dedicate myself to making that organization better. I volunteer all kinds of hours to the improvement of the game, and they decided that I should be recognized for my efforts, and I am humbly grateful for what they have chosen to do. It doesn't mean I'm going to stop doing it. It just means I'm going to do it even more now. It's like you guys just gave me a boost to keep doing what I'm doing and do it even more. But I want to say thanks to all of those out there who made that decision this weekend. I am absolutely honored and humbled by your words and your vote. You have no idea what it means to hear my peers say the things that they said about me this weekend. You have no idea what it means. And I am eternally grateful for what was said and the honor that they are choosing to bestow upon me. I'm extremely grateful for that. Ladies and gentlemen, for everybody here at the world famous Rich Wilson Show, I am Rich Wilson. You guys have yourselves a wonderful night. And don't do anything I wouldn't do, which doesn't leave me much room for error, folks. You have yourselves a good one. We'll see you. Maybe. I think we're supposed... aren't we going to go now, Dave? Okay, we're going to go? All right, now we're going to go.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.